Hey man, back with another one. What's good, everybody?
What's good, y'all?
Um, I'm with Tabang today. How's it, bro?
I'm chilling though. How are you?
Okay, thanks.
As you guys can see, Ephraim isn't with us today. He's out on tour. Um, yeah, man, he's busy doing great things. He's traveling with his work.
Yeah,
We send all the best to him, man. We know he's doing great things where he is overseas and stuff. But yeah, man, today's just me and Horsey, and we're gonna kick it.
yeah. Without further ado, let's just get into the intro.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's get back at it. As you can see, as we said already, everyone's not gonna be here, so I'll be the host for today. So
Today's topic is healthy relationships and social skills. I feel like having a good set of social skills is quite important in today's world, man. Most things require communication. You want to be successful, you're going to need connections. You're going to need to know how to communicate with said connections. And obviously, having healthy relationships is very, very important.
what's your definition of um social skills?
I'd say my definition of having good social skills actually is um hmm, I'd say it's the level on which you articulate yourself.
Okay.
I'd say yeah, having good social skills means you can articulate and verbalize yourself quite well compared to someone who's struggling and doesn't have said social skills would
Mm.
be someone who's struggling to articulate themselves or to verbalize the way they feel or to verbalize certain things or to verbalize themselves in general.
Totally understand you. There's a very good definition over there. Um, with that being said, with people who struggle with social skills,
Mm.
what would you advise them to do from your perspective, from your point of view?
From my point of view, man, I say if you're struggling with something in life, first things first, before you address it, you have to admit that you're struggling with
Yeah,
it. You know,
totally.
if you are a shy person, I'd suggest you sit down, admit that you're a shy person. Because only after admitting that you have a problem or you're struggling with something can you truly put in the effort to work on it. So I'd say admit that you are I don't want to say lacking
Mm.
in this environment, but I'd say more that you are struggling in this area of life. And after you admit this to yourself, you start by looking at ways in which you can improve in this area. Um, when it comes to social skills, I think the best thing you can do to yourself is reassure yourself, firstly. I mean, trust yourself, be confident in yourself. Easier said than done. But just try to reassure yourself constantly. Um, yeah, man, just remind yourself that you are who God made you to be, man. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Start with that, by reassuring yourself, and then from there on it's practice, man. If you really struggle with talking to people and you want to get better at it, talk to as much people as you can.
Oh. That's very good intake from you. Like, personally, I would not say I'm struggling with, social skills. I just said I'm a very quiet person.
Mm-mm-mm.
So, there's a difference between struggling and choosing just not to, you know,
Yeah, what would you say is the biggest difference between someone who's struggling to verbalize themselves and someone who prefers not to verbalize themselves?
just repeat the first one.
Someone who's struggling to verbalize themselves and someone who prefers not to verbalize themselves.
Um, I don't feel like, it's necessarily struggling.
Mm.
I would just say you want to say something, but you're not sure if it's like, if it's genuine. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-mm-mm.
Because like we could be together as friends, and as I said, I'm a very quiet person, and my friends could back me in this. We'll be together, and like, let's say a friend group, we'll be chatting, but then I will be quiet. You understand what I'm
Mm,
saying? So it's not that what I want to say or what I have in mind is not like genuine,
mm,
but like, the difference is, how can I put it in words? Um, difference is, as I said, like, you feel like what you want to say is not genuine, or people are gonna make fun of you, something like that. I'll say that's the struggle.
okay, so I can actually attest to that. You'd say that people who are struggling with, um, let's not generalize. You'd say people who are commonly struggling to verbalize themselves have a sense of feeling that their opinions or
Insecure,
voice are
insecure,
insecure, or they feel like what they have to say doesn't have any weight.
or it could be because of the past. You
Okay.
understand? Like, let's
Mm,
say in the past you never heard.
mm, mm,
So like, why would you want to say something now if you had never heard back then? There could also be a thing that it's a mindset thing. Like, okay, back then I was never heard, so like, why should I speak now?
mm.
So
That actually begs a very interesting question because I know that's a problem that I've had in the
yeah,
past. Me by myself. Like I said before, before I knew you guys, I was a very
yeah,
completely different person. I used to be very quiet. That used to be because no one was listening. So why
yeah,
speak if no one is
exactly.
listening? Um, until I came to a place where people were actually listening and I got more comfortable with
Mm.
verbalizing myself. But what advice would you give someone who is in a place where there's no one listening to them, so they're kind of giving up on the ability to speak? They stop voicing out, but they still don't have people around who's willing to listen to them.
It depends on who's the group you're talking about. Let's say I'm gonna give you a scenario.
Mm,
Let's say, again, friend group.
mm,
You
mm,
understand? You're in a friend group and you're not being heard.
mm,
Um, I come to you humbly and say change your friend group, because in a friend group everyone has to be heard,
mm,
and you know what I mean. Um, but like, if it comes to family,
mm,
household stuff, then I could say you sit down, whoever, let's say the parents or the whole family, and you just sit them down and tell them like, no, there's been a problem that I don't have my fair share of saying.
okay,
You
so
understand?
it's a moment of choosing not to wallow in it, but to do something
You
about
do
it
something.
instead.
If you're not gonna do anything about it, how are you gonna expect the change?
Exactly. So if you are in a place where in your household, in your families, you feel like you're not being heard,
Sit them down, have a talk with them, and tell them.
respectfully, of
Yeah, yeah.
course,
Obviously, you're not gonna
respectfully.
um sit them down and you're gonna throw a tantrum. Just come down humbly and tell them, no, listen. Um, it has come to my attention that I'm not being heard in this family, and it's something that's getting to me. Then we can address it accordingly.
While we're on the topic, man, what do you think does a healthy relationship look like between parent and child?
It all boils down to one thing, and that is communication.
Mm, pause.
Without communication,
Mm.
I mean, like, I don't know how to. There's no such. I don't know how to like, give you examples, but like, I would say communication is the most important thing.
Okay, but like when it comes to communication, you get different types of communication. Some parents feel like when they discipline their child and they're resorting to physical discipline, that's a form of communication. They're communicating to their child that what you did was wrong
Mm.
and this is the consequence of your action. Um, do you think that's a healthy way of communicating to your child?
To a certain extent,
Mm.
you know, um, you can get a hiding as many times, but at the end of the day, it's your decision.
Yeah, I
So
feel like
I mean, we can take it back to the Bible. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's in Leviticus. I'm not sure where in Leviticus,
mm,
probably 19, if I'm not mistaken. Um, it says you have to obey your parents.
mm, mm,
And then, if I mean, obviously now you're not gonna obey your parents, and your parents have done as much as they can do to discipline you. It's in God's hands.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, um, our parents can do all they can to try and teach us to walk the straight
Yeah.
and narrow road. But if we decide we're gonna be disobedient, we're gonna do so regardless. So, um, yeah, I mean, I also think that when it comes to physical discipline as a term of communication, I think it's very important for parents to verbalize,
Yeah.
like I said, in my head, a healthy relationship between a parent and a child would be after a mother or father has physically disciplined them children, would be them verbalizing what happened and why it had to be done.
Yeah.
You know, because in a lot of households, like I can't speak for other households, but I know this is particularly common in black household where
Mm.
black parents would beat their children and then just leave.
Yeah.
You know, it's something we talk about, something we laugh about, but yeah, man, I just think that in that circumstance, in those situations, it's very important to say that I don't think that's a healthy way of communicating with your children. But then, what should the child do in that circumstance?
Why is the child putting him or herself in that circumstance? Why are you, obviously I know we do make mistakes, and
Mm-mm-mm.
we do get hidings there and there. Um, but like, you can't put yourself in such situations and you expect like, okay, I'm just gonna get a hiding, just gonna talk, and you're gonna go back at it. Does that answer your question?
It does, but I just feel like um when we talk about having a healthy relationship, we should look both ways, both to the parent and the son. Because fact is, kids are gonna explore. Kids are curious. They're gonna explore.
Yeah.
Kids are gonna mess up. You're gonna tell. I mean, terrible Tuesday. There's gonna be a stage where you tell a child, "Don't do this," and they're gonna test your level of authority. Where they're gonna do
Yeah.
it while looking you in the eye. I just feel like if you're gonna do that and you're gonna hit the child or physically discipline the child and then not explain to the child what was the reason or the cause of that happening, that you are somehow contributing a different type of communication towards the child that could after a while lead to a child thinking that that's a healthy way of communicating when they have been wronged. You know, they're going to take that, go to school, and instead of verbalizing when someone has wronged them, their first thing's going to be like, oh, I said don't do this, you did it. In this situation, my dad or my mom would beat me, so guess what, I'm going to beat you.
Mm.
That's why I feel like it's very important for
For
uh
both parties.
yeah, for both parties to communicate well with each other, man. um this comes back to the voicing yourself, man. Obviously in an abusive relationship, you can imagine it being quite hard for the child to say, yo dad, listen, I think what you're doing is called abuse, because chances are they're going to get beat again. But
Yeah.
then I think they must have the courage, the safe space, the, you know, a collective resources where they could go to and be like, I think my household circumstances aren't exactly healthy. And I mean, there's this cool psychologist, there's quite a few resources you can reach out, but I also think that kids are afraid to do these things because who wants to end up in a South African housing system?
Mm.